Ladies and gentlemen, fellow countrymen, we are back bigger and better. Now, there is a point here that I coined some times back. Like it just came to my realization that there is something that is happening that we don't know. And because we don't know it, it's affecting us because at the end of the day, we are living in the world. So whatever is happening, whether it's against us or not against us, as long as you're living in one way or the other, it's affecting us. And I just came to the realization that everyone has power. We all have power, against or not against one or two things. And with that, there is something here. Most of us, we consider ourselves failures because we don't have something that we want from life, and someone else has those things that we want from life, or those things that we want from the world. And then you sit, or rather, I sat and looked at it and came to the realization that even though most of the time we don't have those things, but we have power that is helping those people to have those things, to have those things. I'm not sure if you're getting it. Like, for every win, there is a failure. So the win cannot exist without a failure. For every success, there must be someone who failed, yet someone else succeeded. There must be that level of comparison. This person is at this point, and you are at this point. You and me are at this point. So if you're not at this point, this person can't exist. Or rather, this person has zero power. Let me explain that in a minute. Don't be fast to judge. Because for number one to exist, there must be number last. If number last decides, or people who are after him decides not to exist, then he won't be number one. That is academically, but also from life. For someone who has $1 billion, there must be someone who lost that $1 billion to them. You get the point? So the person who lost the $1 billion to them has power against them in one way or the other. And the power is he doesn't have that $1 billion, or they don't have that $1 billion. So because they don't have it, the other person has it. And because of that, he has power now and he sees himself as success. I'm not saying he's not successful, but then just come to the realization that, take another example. For a leader to exist, there must be followers. If the followers decides that they are not following person A, who was a leader before, then that person will be leaderless. And once they're leaderless, they are no longer a leader. You see the point? For someone to be successful, there must be someone who failed. So your failure, you and my failure, are being used to highlight the success of the other people or the success of the other person. So if you decide not to fail, then the other person won't have that power. Or both of us maybe will win. You and me will have known this. For you have now known this from whatever I've told you. You will strive hard not to be a failure and not have yourself being used to highlight the success of the others. People will talk about person A because person B, C, D, E, F, and all that long list didn't do that thing that person A did. But were it that they did close to the same thing, then maybe two people would have been getting talked about. Or even the thing that is making person A to be talked about will have lost value, and so the person won't be viewed as a success because everyone is winning in that field. You're getting my point? There was a friend of mine, I'll use this as an example. There was a friend of mine back in high school days. He was a very noisy friend. I was also one of them. Yes. So he's still a friend of mine up to now. I'll use him as an example. The guy used to, every now and then, he wants the attention of the class rep telling the person, oh, keep quiet. I'll use the name Brayo, keep quiet. Brayo, keep quiet. Brayo, keep quiet. But then at one point I was academic captain and we were in the same class. So I looked at Brayo at one point and stood up. Not that I didn't plan the thoughts in my brain, but I found myself telling Brayo that, Brayo, there is a role you are playing in all this game. Even though you can think that making noise is disturbing us, but there is power you are having. And the power is, your noise is being used to highlight the silence of so and so. If that so and so, if you are not noisy, then you could not have a baseline to use to compare person B who is not making noise. So Brayo, keep making noise, because when you make noise, at least tunajua there is another one who is not making noise. You get the point? At least to get to know that there is another person who is not making noise because you are making noise. So the thing is, you have power, but then your power is being used to highlight the success of the other person. So yours is in the negative, the other person is in the positive. If you decide to remove the negative close to zero, then the other person will maybe move to zero. And once it gets to zero, then it has close to zero power. So also with life, for someone to have $1 billion, there must be someone who lost that $1 billion to them. So because they lost that billion, that losing is making the other person to be highlighted as a billionaire. And there is a reason those who in power don't want us to know this. Because the moment we know and all of us become billionaire, then it becomes a problem. And those who are in leadership, if we decide not to follow the people in leadership, they'll have no power against us. And when they have no power against us, then they become leaderless. So my point is this. For you and me who is listening to this, why not, if we decide, let's decide not to be failures. We both have power, equal and opposite power. It's only that the other person used it in the positive direction, and for us, we have not been able to realize it, but still we have power, and our power is being used to highlight the success of the other people. You don't have $1 billion, I don't have $1 billion, but then because we don't have it, the people who have it are now seen as billionaire. But if we decide to join them, then we'll all become billionaires. Whoever will be on the losing end will be the people who are being used to highlight our billionaire, the people who are billionaire. You get my point? So now that you have seen this, let's not accept to be failures, because when we accept to be failures, even though we are not doing anything, but us not doing anything is being used by those who are doing anything to highlight them doing anything, because they get things that we don't get. So why not? What if we decide all of us, we are going to do things? At the end of the day, time is going. At the end of the day, it's guaranteed all of us are going to go the one path that nature decided for us. As long as you and me are breathing, we are guaranteed that death is part of the journey. So if we fail not to do those things, some other people are using it against us to win and to be known as leaders and to be known as winners. For every winner, there must be a loser. For every noisemaker, there must be one who is for every person who is silent, there must be one who is a noisemaker. And if the noisemaker decides to get himself out of the equation, all of us will be silent. And once all of us will be silent, this person will lose power over us. And by power doesn't mean that we need that power. But then the thing is, making noise and being at this place is still of use. But then it's of use to this person and not us. We are being used by this person. So why not come and join them? We don't have to keep quiet. But then if we make noise, it's guaranteed the person who is quiet is earning a baseline of comparison. You get my point? And the same with wealth, the same with money, the same with the leadership position. For every leader, there must be someone who decided to follow them. If we decide not to follow someone, then they are leaderless. And once they are leaderless, they have zero power over us. And then to summarize the whole thing, for every action, there is an opposite and equal reaction. So for the opposite and equal reaction has to be there for that action to exist. When you want to jump up, you are stepping on the ground. Gravity, there is an aspect of gravity in it. So you have to maybe squat, press your feet on the ground, and then you jump. If there was no power, equal and opposite reaction power, then your action would be meaningless. So by that I mean, most of us are here on the ground and we are being used to press down and jump up. We think we are not doing anything because when a person jumps up, there is nothing they have done to gravity. There is nothing they have removed from gravity. But still, that opposite power that the ground used to push them up is power. If they decided to jump like this other person, this person would not have jumped. So staying a loser, not doing anything in one way or the other, you are being used by those who are making it. You are being used by those who are being considered as successful. You and me, let's not be the people who are getting used down here. Let's not be the noisemakers. Let's wake up and do something. Because at the end of the day, time is going. It's guaranteed. We'll all follow the same path. So before we follow that path, let's at least do something with the world and with the information that we have. Thank you so much for your time. Let me see in the comment section people jangling the brain horse. All this is coming from my own brain. I've not read it somewhere. Easy to ni akili imeamua pige 1212. Cheers. Thank you so much for your time. See you in the next video. And thank you for keeping it locked.